Hi guys, me again, Adam, alcoholic, weed addict, checking in with your daily update on my sobriety journey from all mind altering substances. So yet again was another challenging day. It started in my dreams and it just seemed to be relentless all day. So we'll start with the dream because it probably affected the rest of the day. It certainly played a bit of a role in how I dealt with the day as well. So at the start of the dream, my gran had died and it was her funeral. So to give you a little bit of backstory, I'd already buried my granny a long time ago when I was 16. So I went through with the funeral, and at the end of it, everyone went home and it was my job to single-handedly dig her grave with a spade, while her coffin sat next to me, just lying in the dirt. I dug about 3 spades worth of soil and then I just gave up. I chucked the spade in the ground and away I went. In the next part of the dream, I'd woken up the next day and I had been glad that I hadn't drunk on the day of the funeral, but there was a bottle of beer on the dresser next to me. Without a second thought, I took 3 swigs of the beer and I instantly regretted it. I decided that I was going to lie to my sponsor about it, so we didn't have to start the sober clean time all over again. He lived in the same street as me that I grew up on in this dream, and I went to his door to tell him that I couldn't do the bookwork today because my head was still minced from burying my granny yesterday. A woman that my mind just made up answered his door. Now, I know who my sponsor's partner is, and this certainly wasn't her. It was very weird. And they both stood in the doorway as I told them why I was there. A strange woman asked if I used yesterday or drank, and I said no, but I instantly started crying. And I sharply took off down their path and away. The next few hours of the dream were absolutely brutal, and I cried myself to the barely started gravesite where I was aware her coffin was still lying there in the dirt. I cried so hard with the feelings of regret, shame, guilt, and self-hatred that I'd never experienced in my life before. This was next level. I was walking along the road shouting, "I fucking hate myself, I fucking hate myself," over and over. And when I got to this makeshift gravesite, there was a group of around 10 volunteers. They were already digging the grave because they'd decided that I'll never get it done. And this obviously made me feel 10 times worse than I already did. I wandered round crying with the most intense tears that I can remember. I continued to shout, "I fucking hate myself," over and over, until I got to a point where I realised that if I'm not honest with my sponsor, he won't be able to help me get sober. So I trudged along back to his door, where I stood on the doorstep wailing like a newborn baby as I confessed my drinking from the day before and my lies from the morning. He just looked at me with this helpless expression, and I knew there was nothing he could do to undo what I had done because I'd done all this to myself. And I'll never forget that helpless look that he gave me, guys. That utter devastation that hit me when he said, "We can start this all over again if you want." The anguish, the regret, the self-hatred that was so raw and simply unbearable. The next second, my eyes open and I'm actually awake in real life. And I'm crying, but just in one eye, which is really strange. So I wipe away the tears from that one eye and I thought to myself, wow, that was a brutal nightmare. So I closed my eyes and I managed to drift off back to sleep. But when I woke a second time in the morning when my alarm went off, I now seen this dream as a wonderful dream. For I had seen the future. And I knew exactly how I'd feel if I did relapse. And not only that, I also knew that if I even thought about lying about my relapse to my sponsor or anyone else, I would actually feel a lot worse about it than better. So I do feel that there is a power greater than myself at work here now, and today I call him God. I truly believe that he came to me in my sleep and warned me about relapse and how I'll feel inside afterwards without actually having to relapse and having to live that torture. I feel very lucky for that. and I had recently been feeling guilty about not visiting my gran's grave in a long time. And I feel like my higher power intensified that feeling immensely, so that I'd wake up the next morning and go straight there and do the right thing. Today was the 12-step work with my sponsor after smashing step 1 recently and learning about the illness. And then we moved on today to step 2 and 3. And guess what step 2 is? Finding a power greater than yourself. And step 3, making a decision to hand our will, our lives over to God as we understand Him. Well, that wasn't difficult for me today after that dream. There's just too many coincidences for that to be a coincidence. And when I got to my hometown where my gran's grave is, I first bumped into the person who gave me the resentment at the start of the week. And we fixed it. I mean, I really couldn't make this up. There are just far too many coincidences to be a coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence at all. And all these coincidences relate in one way or another to that dream I had last night. And that was just the start of my day. So I got to the graveyard, the real one this time, and I laid flowers on my gran's gravesite, and I had a good cry and I had a good chat with her. Her favourite flowers are carnations, so that's what she got. I actually got a couple of bunches because they're always small, and just a nice bouquet of random flowers too. We listened to her favourite song, which is Amazing Grace, and I tried to sing it to her, but the tears were just too strong to be able to sing. So I apologised for not being around her grave more often, and I begged her to tell the big man up there with her to come back into my life. And I promised to come back to her every week. And then I left the graveyard for home. And before I got home, my mum called me from my sister's phone to tell me that she dropped her phone into a post box while trying to post a letter. So I spent the next hour trying to get through to post office switchboards to get to that post office. Wasn't possible. Then I tried with Royal Mail, who are now a different company, and wasn't possible. I came to no avail. And she's now going to have to be standing there at 9 AM when it gets emptied and ask for her phone back, which I find hilarious, but I shouldn't. So after that, I then got home and the boiler stopped working. It's like, how many hurdles am I getting? There was low pressure in the boiler, no hot water, no heating. So after troubleshooting the boiler for about half an hour, and I never got anywhere, I tried resetting the boiler, and that bought me some time. The heating came back on and got hot water, but still low pressure. So the boiler's website indicates that there's a leak somewhere, which brings me to another issue I had in the morning. Oh, I can laugh about it now. So the neighbour underneath called me to say that there was water leaking through his roof and into the lights. So I checked through every room and I found that there wasn't any flood in this building at all. So we definitely came to the conclusion that there's got to be a burst pipe somewhere in between the two houses. And I do believe that God's thrown hurdles at my way, and just now to make me stronger that's happening, and to find ways of dealing with problems without drinking drugs, even if I do feel like an Olympic hurdler now. Guys, please like, share and subscribe to the Sobriety Journey channel to carry the message to other sick addicts who might be suffering in silence. Maybe together we can break down the stigma attached to addiction, and with my brutal honest shares, give them the confidence to reach out and get the help they need to change and potentially save their lives. Catch me tomorrow for your next daily update, one day at a time.